Well, there's all the rivets. Since the oil seals leaked a bunch of gearbox fluid, they're soaked and everything. And here's the results. It came out pretty nice. Yep, there we go. And you see all the wetness. Not good, but you know, that can all be decontaminated. So there's the shoes. Their thickness, you know, there's still a lot of space above the rivet left, but apparently if you grind these into the drums are insanely expensive. Insanely expensive. So, yeah, they need to get wiped down, cleaned, blah blah blah, and then we'll get to the next stage, which is cutting the lining and matching it to length. And also, you can see it's chamfered here, or chamfered if you pronounce it correctly. So you got to do that so they don't squeal. These are low-speed brakes, but you still do it because it's the right idea. So anyway, we'll get to the next step here in a little bit. Here we are with a brake shoe off the old 254A Photon tractor. Some are known as Genmas, and my original pads were riveted on, so I chose to rivet these back on. Now I've got clamps on there just to hold the ends in shape because they will kind of, see there's a gap there, so I've got to use JB Weld on that. I heard from a couple sources that that's what you do if you're going to rivet them. If you're going to glue them with JB Weld the whole way, then you have to either clamp the daylights out of them with these, or use you know, band clamps and stuff like that. So you can do it either way. I just wanted to rivet it. I thought it was a neat thing. I'd never tried it. So there's the finished product. So now I'm going to take you, hopefully, through the process. It's a long one. It's a doozy. So okay. So what we do first is you have to take the rivets and you have to drill them out on the back side, or grind them off. You have to just make your choice. It doesn't really matter. And here's the shoe that remains, and you just grind them off and punch them out, and this comes right off. If it's glued on, it's going to take a lot of work to get them off, so you'll have to figure that part out. I haven't done one that way. So then you wire brush. First you degrease this really well, the shoe itself. Degrease the daylights out of it. Most of them are covered in gear oil. So degrease it really well with brake cleaner and stuff, and clean them up and dry them. And save the old pieces. Save this. You might need it as a template someday. Take and clamp this on. What I did was, if you can barely see the Sharpie marks I made where the old pad used to sit, and I cut that other shoe I just showed you on a bandsaw, and right after that my bandsaw failed for the first time in 15 years, so then I cut this one with a hacksaw. It cuts a lot like white pine wood. It's pretty easy to cut with and drill. It's great. So it like makes these kind of big flaky pieces, so it's pretty easy to deal with. So what you do is you center your shoes on the marks, and then you need to drill them. Now there's a very specific order you have to go in. So you want to use a pilot bit, and the reason is the Forstner bit has a this is a 3/8 Forstner bit, has a center that guides the bit in, but it needs a pilot hole. So use something small. I don't know what size this is. It's, I think, less than a 1/16, but you need a pilot hole. That's super important. So we'll chuck this in the drill. You know, you can mount everything in a vise and drill it perpendicular and all that, but it's just not that complicated, so it doesn't need that much precision. So then you take your drill, you center it in this hole. The hole's a lot bigger. It's 4 millimeters. The rivets from the Chinese factory are 4 millimeters. We're using 9/64, so 9/64 is 140 thousandths. 4 millimeters is 160. It's like 164 thousandths. So the 9/64 is what I'm using, because they're such a standard for American tractors that they're real easy to get a hold of. So I got to make sure the clamp isn't going to get in the way. There we go. You got to make sure you can get your drill bit in here straight, as perpendicular to everything as you can possibly get it. So then you drill that one. Like I said, do the best you can to center it. Okay, so you see those two little dimples there? You want to scratch the material out of the way, and then boy, I got to shift this clamp some more, don't I? Okay, here we go. Okay, so now you've got your pilot holes. I do just 2 holes at a time because I want everything to line up, and I don't want to have to worry about the whole thing being off. Okay, so you stick your next bit in. I think this one is 9/64. It says it's a number 26. It's about right. So, oops, sorry. I almost made that mistake before. So you take your Forstner, you put it in your pilot hole, you take your Forstner bit. I think it's got a 5/16 or 3/8 shank on it. Okay, now, I don't know if I can show you this, I'll try. What you want is the back of the bit, this back surface back here, to not go below the top of the brake lining. You don't want that to happen, because you got to have a pretty good amount of material below the bit. It's probably a solid third left, maybe 40% left under the bit. Okay, so here's how you do it. You put the tip of the bit in the hole and just go nice and easy. Okay, now what I do is I look at this angle and this angle, make sure the depth is the same. This side's a little shallow, so okay, so that's just about right. Okay, so can you, I don't know if you guys can see that. You see how the top of the bit's now flush with the top of the material? That gives you about 40% material left at the bottom. That's roughly about right. I learned something very unique about these Chinese shoes. The way they designed them, the metal shoe and the lining, is you can never get down to the rivets. You can't do it. What happens is it wears down to a certain point, and then these don't engage the drum anymore. The drums are seriously expensive. They're like $220 something each if you can get them. So this is a good plan. I like it. I guess they did it on purpose, but that's the way it works out. So just a tip. Okay, so like I said, put the tip in the pilot hole. Now this Forstner bit does not want to suck through the material like a regular drill bit. If you stop pushing, it stops drilling. So you have really good control, and you end up with a flat hole in the bottom. Okay, so then you check this, and you check the height of the wall inside, make sure it's pretty much equal. Okay, this needs to go just a tiny bit more. Okay, so that's the Forstner bit is just about flush with the top of the pad. I'm gonna go it's just a little shallow, so I'm gonna go just a tiny bit more. There we go, that's nice. Okay, so now you take and you swap out your Forstner bit. That bit was about, I forget, 26 bucks. And it's a 3/8. Okay, so now you've counterbored your hole for your rivet, for your 3/8 rivet. Don't that look pretty? And now what you got to do is you got to drill it out. You got to decide, do you go in from the top or the bottom? It usually screws up the hole a little bit, the pilot hole, so it doesn't really matter how you do it. I don't have very good luck either way, so just go gently, don't push. See, it just sucks itself in, just boom. And then it gets, it goes through that hole in the back. Okay, so that looks alright. I think there's a little shaving in there, so I'm going to dig it out. There we go. Okay, that's not horrible. It's off a little bit. So then what you do is you grab your bag of rivets. This is what's on the rivet, the bag of rivets from McMaster. The part number, I don't know if it says 5/8 on the part number, but these are 3/8 head by 1/2 inch long. And you can just look that up. I'll put all that stuff in the notes down below. So you just do 2 at a time, and put them both in. Sometimes you can push them all the way flush, and sometimes you cannot. So what I do is I take a big old punch. Yeah, see, this one's going in pretty good, but not great. Excuse my reach. Just tap them in until they're flush. Yeah, this is really hard to do on camera, right? So that way it's all the way in. There you go. Alright, I'll step around the camera this time. Actually, I can put them on a vise and then they'll stay there. Okay, so that's ready to go. Now, what it says in the instructions for the rivet setting tool, I don't know if you guys can see that very well, is you put a drop of oil on it. So my oil source is over here, and I use like half a drop, just a tiny bit. There we go. Because you don't want oil all over your brake pads and your rivets and all that stuff, right? So now my drill's in my way all of a sudden. Alright, so now the rivets usually stay in once you push them in. I don't know, can you guys see that? You cannot see that. Okay, so I'm going to do the cheesy thing. Okay. So this has a tiny bit of oil on it. Takes a lot of hand coordination. I'm going to put it on the back one here, the back rivet. And you don't hit it hard, you just tap it a few times, but you rotate the bit around because these surfaces aren't flat. You can hear the difference. If you're bottomed out, it sounds very hard. If it's not, it's a softer sound. Okay. Now you don't have to make them perfect with all these clamps and crap hanging on here. Just set it reasonably well, And you'll get, you can do this later when it's completely done. You can put it back on that bolt and make it perfect, you know. So that's how that goes. There's two of them. They're in nice. That rivet's sticking up a little proud, isn't it? Well, I'll try and tap that down. But anyway, so there's two of them. They're in, and I'm not going to bore you with the rest, but I'm going to put the rest of them in and then fine tune them. And then this one will be done as well. Then I'll just have to go in the store and find some JB Weld. So that's how I do the riveting. It's a wonderful process. If you look at American tractor brake linings, they all do this. You almost can't buy new shoes fully assembled. You have to rivet them together yourselves. And you can buy the pad material already pre-drilled and everything. It's pretty neat. So the Chinese stuff is supposed to be cheaper, but because the shipping and the time lag from China to the US is so long, it's just not worth it. So this stuff all came from McMaster, which is in Southern California. And that makes it a lot easier to do. So anyway, that's how this works. I'll show you the finished product here in a little bit. Be right back. Alright, here we go. This is the second shoe. Came out pretty good. One of the holes was off center quite a bit, so I had to take a Dremel tool and gently hog it out to one side, and then it went in just fine. You know, I told you it didn't matter which way to drill the big hole. I would drill the bigger hole from the top. It keeps the centering better. So drill it from the top before you put your rivet in. And so now, time to go find some JB Weld and weld the ends of these. And then we'll be ready to install. The only thing I have to do on the rest of it is degrease it. So there you go. So that doesn't cost a lot. It was, I don't know, I'll put it in the show notes. 2 feet, I don't know, it wasn't very much money, and you get a bag of 100 rivets, which will do 25 shoes, so that's plenty. Anyway, that's it for now. See you, bye.